whenever you make a claim onto the adversary, तो आपको उस क्लेम को साबित करने के लिए कुछ सबूत भी देने होते हैं। पाकिस्तान ने क्या किया? पाकिस्तान ने जितने एयरक्राफ्ट शूट किए हैं हर एयरक्राफ्ट का टेल नंबर तक दिया। वेरी फेमस स्टेटमेंट बाय प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी that we selected the overcast because we knew that whenever it is overcast तो clouds में हमारे जहाज उनको नजर नहीं आएंगे। So it was a very naive and a statement by a person who doesn't know anything about the aviation. Pakistan Air Force was able to inflict something like 100 plus aircraft to the Indian Air Force, lost in the air or on ground, and we lost around 19. It's all documented, written by the Indian authors, Pakistani authors, and even the Western authors.
Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is me Uzair Hassan and you are watching yet another episode of the Sapiens Experience podcast. In this particular episode, we are going to talk about avionics, aeronautics, कुछ aircraft के बारे में बात करेंगे and जो recent developments हैं globally, किस तरह एक air force जो है, चाहे वो किसी भी country की हो, उनका जो first line of defense होता है वो किस तरह काम करता है and ये चीज़ें किस तरह strategically planned होती हैं, कितने सालों से plan हो रही हैं एंड जो डेवलपमेंट्स हैं, अपग्रेडेशंस हैं, एआई का जो इन्वॉल्वमेंट है अब इन रीसेंट टाइम्स के अंदर, उसके ऊपर बात करेंगे. सो वी हैव नन अदर देन मिस्टर जाहिद उल हसन साहब जॉइनिंग अस इन आवर स्टूडियो. अस्सलाम वालेकुम जाहिद साहब, कैसे हैं आप?
वालेकुम अस्सलाम
सर. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू फॉर बीइंग ओवर हियर एंड आपकी इस सब्जेक्ट में एक्सपर्टीज़ है एंड वी रियली वांटेड ऑन अ लाइटर नोट, ताकि जो हमारी ऑडियंस है, बिकॉज वी आर केटरिंग डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ ऑडियंस ऑफ डिफरेंट एज ग्रुप्स, तो वी वांटेड एन ईजियर वे ताकि हम बहुत ही आसानी से आपके साथ समझ सकें कि दुनिया भर में एविएशंस में क्या डेवलपमेंट हो रही हैं एंड हमारी क्या पोजीशन है इस टाइम पे एविएशंस में.
इंशाल्लाह, लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड.
अच्छा जाहिद साहब, सबसे पहले तो यू हैव बीन राइटिंग आर्टिकल्स फॉर डिफरेंट न्यूज़ प्लेटफॉर्म्स जो कि ग्लोबली अक्लेम्ड प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं एंड स्ट्रेटेजिकली बात करें तो यू हैव दिस एक्सपर्टीज़ ऑफ अपने सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर जिसके ऊपर आप लिख भी रहे होते हैं. थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में बताएंगे ट्रांजिशन एंड आपका जो अब तक का सफ़र रहा पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स के साथ, वो कैसा रहा, इंटरेस्ट के बारे में थोड़ा सा बताइए.
थैंक यू वेरी मच उज़ैर साहब. बिस्मिल्लाह रहमान रहीम. रब्बि शरह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली. It's really a pleasure to be here and I'm looking forward for a very rewarding and fruitful interaction. I started my journey in Air Force back in 1986 and it's been 37 years. After serving for about 37 years, I retired in 2022.
Okay.
Remained almost all across Pakistan, served in all the bases, went abroad for a number of qualifications for different courses including USA and the Europe and the other countries, and I'm grateful to the Air Force that they gave me the opportunity to improve upon whatever I could get. And I've stayed in air headquarters at number of positions, commanded a number of field units including an operational base. You might have seen while traveling from Karachi to Hyderabad, there is a recently developed base, PF base Bulari, which now houses F-16s. So I was fortunately the first base commander of that base.
Achha.
And after that remained on different other command appointments. And after fulfilling my given obligations, I got retired in 2022 and then joined a think tank run by the Strategic Plan Divisions with the name of Center for International Strategic Studies. It is also based here in Karachi. Served for about 2 years, gained a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and then switched to academia. Right now, I'm in a university looking after the affairs of the registrar office. And iske saath, because I feel like that whatever I have gained throughout the years, I feel like giving it back to the young people and to the new generation. And I do it by writing different articles on especially the global strategy and security aspects in national newspapers, appearing in different podcasts, going for the guest lectures to different universities, talking to the youth. It has been, I think, a very rewarding journey throughout, and thankfully, it's still on.
Zahid sir, you were talking about Bulari Air Base, and you were the first air commander for that air base as well. And after your experience है, which is within 30 years, थोड़ा सा ये बताइए कि Bulari Air Base का experience कैसा रहा है, and what kind of aircrafts you have flown so far?
Bulari Air Base primarily is a place between, if you look at the length and breadth of Pakistan, from Sakhar to Masroor in 1971 war, we didn't have any base. So there was a huge gap in order to support land operations and undertake air operations of our own. For that, if you recall, there was a Commodore Commission report in which number of recommendations came, and one of the recommendations was to have an air base anywhere between Jacobabad, Sakhar, and all the way down south till Karachi. So there were a number of places which came up. One was the satellite-based, which was converted into forward operating base. That was Mirpur Khas. And then, but we didn't have the main operating base, which should work as standby base to the Masroor, or generally bases jo hain, they are supposed to be mutually supportive to each other.
Okay.
So a place was selected just in between Hyderabad and Karachi, and it was decided to build a main operating base. Primarily, we have three categories of air bases. One are the satellites, which are randomly used in the contingencies. Then one are the forward operating bases, which are not regularly, but they are used in different intervals, and at least once or twice a year they are also activated. And the major chunk of the air effort goes to the main operating bases. Okay. So it was decided to bring it up as a main operating base, starting from the scratch. So I was fortunate enough to be selected by then Chief of the Air Staff to be the first base commander, and built the base from scratch, make it operationally ready. And Alhamdulillah, now I can say with a lot of satisfaction that this base has come up as a main operating base, housing number of aircraft, including the F-16s. And then it has the airborne warning and control systems, AWACS also, a number of air defense units, and all the paraphernalia which one can think of.
अच्छा सर, जब आप सर्व कर रहे थे बुलारी एयरबेस पे, उस वक्त से लेके अब तक इसके अंदर क्या एडवांसमेंट्स हुई हैं, एंड व्हाट आर सर्टेन मेजर्स जो कि एक एयरबेस के लिए ज़रूरी होते हैं ओवर टाइम, बिकॉज वी हैव सीन के जो एवियोनिक्स हैं ये भी टाइम के साथ अपग्रेड करने बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी हैं, एंड एज वी आर एंटरिंग के चाइना अपना 6th जनरेशन जो है वो एयरक्राफ्ट टेस्ट करने लगा है, यूएस इज़ वर्किंग ऑन द 6th जनरेशन एयरक्राफ्ट एज वेल. तो इसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा बताइए कि ये जो मीटिंग्स है ये कितनी फ्रीक्वेंट होती हैं, एंड सारी ही जितनी भी एयरफोर्स है दुनिया में वो इतनी ही ज़्यादा जो है वो इसके ऊपर काम कर रहा होता है, या आपको लगता है कि ये इट वेरीज ऑन डिफरेंट गवर्नमेंट्स या डिफरेंट एयरफोर्सेस एज वेल?
आई एम रियली हैप्पी Uzair you brought up this point. Primarily you are talking about the modernization
जी,
and staying abreast with the latest technologies.
Absolutely.
I would say that Air Force is one of those organizations all across Pakistan, and even I would say in the entire world, which is the tech-savvy organization. And if you do not stay abreast and at times ahead of the technologies, you not only are left behind, rather if you are in a compatible environment, then there are all the probabilities that you will be at loss against your adversaries.
Absolutely.
And as you know that Pakistan की जो हमारी geostrategic location है, we are confronted with an adversary which is 5-6 times bigger than us in terms of population, economy, size of the forces, size of the you name anything. It could be Army, Air Force, or Navy. So I would say right from the beginning, I pay a lot of tribute to our initial leadership and to the entire leadership which came later on, that they identified that, okay, being a smaller country, being a country much lesser in size, we can't match our eastern neighbor in terms of numbers. You can't match tank for tank and aircraft for aircraft and soldier for soldier. But you have no option to leave it on the mercy of the adversaries. You have to match it also. How to do that? So in terms of matching numbers, in terms of matching the quantity, we decided to stay ahead in quality. So the preference right from the beginning, I would say when we became part of the C2 and CENTO, and then even in the 1965 war, we had, I think, most modern, rather to be very safe, modern aircraft than the Indian Air Force in our inventory. And the result was in front of everyone during the 1965 war. For your audience, I would say that Pakistan Air Force was able to inflict something like 100 plus aircraft to the Indian Air Force, lost in the air or on ground. And we lost around 19. It's all documented, written by the Indian authors, Pakistani authors, and even the Western authors. So that was one of the indications that how quality makes the difference. Second aspect, I think, was the leadership. That you need to have a visionary leadership who should be able to look into future something like maybe minimum 10 years ahead. So you have to beat your adversary in the decision-making cycle in terms of gaining maximum quality. Then after that, I think it comes to training. Because this is also one thing which is in our own hand. जो आपकी ट्रेनिंग है जितनी विगोरस होगी, जितनी रियलिस्टिक होगी, जितनी aligned with the global trends, utna hi you will be able to. And we have been training ourselves to an extent that we right now also have our center of excellence, and there are, I think, safely I would say about more than 24 countries, including the first world, जिनके जो एयर डिफेंस के और जो हमारे उनके जो एविएटर्स हैं, they come here for training. And that training we train ourselves and we train to our youngsters to be able to fight outnumber with the better technology, better tactics, and the choice of losing is not there.
Okay, and this was all from the beginning, right?
Right from the beginning, I would say, starting from Air Marshal Asghar Khan, who was the first Muslim CNC Pakistan Air Force, then to the Noor Khan, and then all the Air Force CNCs who came. Everyone had these 3-4 focuses. And then the final word I would say is of technology, actually from where you started off. Technology, I think, starting from 1965, when we got hold of Saber's F-86. And then the next aircraft was F-104. That was the first time when Pakistan Air Force in the entire South Asia, including the Indians, were flying the supersonic platforms. We were the first ones who were flying the aeroplanes equipped with the air-to-air missiles. Air-to-air missiles were the nascent concept at that time, and people they were used to of fighting the adversary with the help of guns. उसमें एयरक्राफ्ट में गन्स होती हैं, then you align yourself. Dog fights में you come to the tail quarters or you aim at the adversary and should be better than the adversary in terms of maneuvers, and you should be able to destroy them by using guns. But this was the first time that we started using missiles, and then this legacy went on. We started then. I would bring in another very important point, that is use of the data links. Pakistan Air Force started using tactical data links as early as early 80s, I would say 83, 84. And our adversary across the eastern border, Indians, they started using the AFNet or the data links in 2005. So we were something like maybe 25 more years ahead of the Indians. And this ascendancy holds good even today. you can appreciate that. Especially, I would refer to the confrontation or the 4 days war which we had to fight with the Indians, and started off with the 6th and 7th May 2025 night. There were something like 70 to 80 aircraft from across the border, and included Rafale.
अच्छा सर, इसी से रिलेटेड मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि फरवरी 2019 कंपेयर टू मई 2025, ये जो है कोई 6 साल का एक वक्फा है, लेकिन दोनों अटैक जो हैं वो दुनिया में डिस्कस हुए, पहले भी हुए, आज भी हो रहे हैं. तो हमें ऊपरी से तो ऊपर से पता है कि व्हाट हैपेंड, व्हाट वाज एक्चुअली हैपनिंग इन द स्काइज. थोड़ा सा आप ये बताइए कंपेयर टू दोनों सिचुएशंस 2019 एंड 2025, एंड इन 6 सालों में पाकिस्तान वाज रेडी और पाकिस्तान वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग समथिंग सिमिलर जो कि 2019 में हुआ था. किस तरह की चीज़ आगे भी होगी?
In fact, you have put across number of questions. I'll try to address them one by one. I'll try to address them one by one. First of all, let's talk about 2019. 2019 started off with the Pulwama attacks, and we know that Indians, unfortunately, they have the history of conducting false flag operations. और उनका जो primary objective है for conducting these is primarily, I think, the local audience, the domestic audience, and the electioneering. Unfortunately, पाकिस्तान में अगर आप elections को देखें तो वो anti-India sentiment पे नहीं लड़ेगा जी. Whereas, unfortunately, especially with the BJP coming in, Indians, they fight elections with the anti-Pakistan rhetoric. So, in order to fill that gap, the best way is to conduct a false flag operation, implicate Pakistan, and then, like they also have certain movies on these names, and they're, I would say, the fantasies of overrunning Pakistan within hours. This is the only way they can sort of एक अपने आप को थोड़ा सा एक reasoning भी दे सकते हैं, that then they can satisfy to their domestic audience, and then thirdly they can give a message to the external apologists, like the USA calls India as a net security provider against China. So if they do not conduct such things and then make a reason for launching operations against Pakistan and giving an impression that, okay, yes, you have laid in trust on the Indians, and we are ready to act like a regional policeman. So for that purpose, we knew that whenever there will be a false flag operation, so we expect some misadventure from the Indians. We have seen it before also. So this time when Pulwama happened, we were prepared. It was, I think, 14 February when the Pulwama incident happened. And we got ready within 48 hours. We were deployed all across Pakistan, starting from up north to south. And we were expecting, because one very interesting point, there are a number of ways that they express their desire. One, media hype. Like, you know, I will not name the anchors. They are the like, they believe in the hawkish. I don't know
if they are mouthpiece of the government, yeah, there are certain narrative is being sold with them.
Probably, I think mix of both. Yeah, because government backing jab tak na ho, you can't go by this. But one is the media. Second is like your diplomatic channels, your foreign secretary, foreign ministers, and they start speaking such language. Then at political level, and then actually we are not affected as Air Force, as a professional organization. I would say we are not affected by these rhetorics and these statements. What we are actually looking for, that okay, these are the statements, but actually, what is the situation on ground? Because we monitor they are also monitoring, we are also monitoring that. And very interestingly, आजकल जो battlefields हैं, they are transparent. We see them maybe 200, 300 kilometers inside, all across. They're also seeing us, so there's no surprise. Any aircraft getting airborne, we exactly know which is this aircraft, which mission is going to fly, and when it is going to land. And through this, we also find out what tactics are they actually developing to launch against the adversary. So we exactly knew their peacetime locations. Okay, during peacetime, for instance, उनके जो major aircraft हैं, 2019 में अगर बात करें तो राफेल तो नहीं थे उस वक्त SU-30 थे, मिराज 2000 थे, MiG-21 and other main platforms. So we exactly knew what is the location. When they started moving these platforms from the rear bases to the forward bases and started deploying them in a way now they are ready to launch, that is where we also became physically prepared. And then there were a number of occasions like they were trying to deceive us. They gathered at around 3 to 4 places in terms of 25, 30, 40 aircraft.
Giving 2019
की बात कर रहा हूँ. Let's say one exactly opposite to Karachi, this Jaisalmer, Nalia, Bhoj area. Second was somewhere in the center, which is opposite to Rahim Yar Khan and Sakkar. Third was in the Punjab area, Adampur, Bulari area. And the fourth was in the Kashmir. So there were 4 different pockets of around 30, 40 aircraft each, giving us or putting us in a dilemma that, okay, which one to defend and which one to leave. Because if you leave, you can't have an option to even leave one of the areas. There's no option with us. So you have to defend each and every corner. But if you go for everyone, what is likely outcome? The likely outcome is that your response will be diluted. If you have 100 aircraft to match their, let's say, 200 aircraft, so in 4 pockets, you will be left with maybe 20, 25 aircraft each. So the concentration of force will not be there. But one thing we knew that coming across the international border is very difficult to justify to the international community. But line of control or LOC is available because it was a ceasefire line from 1971, and then there are a number of skirmishes all across. There have been land forces firing at each other. So relatively, uska jo status hai internationally, it's not equivalent to the international border. So that is, to some extent, if they had to violate, we were expecting that they will violate from that side. Okay. They did it. We were ready. It was an overcast. Very famous statement by Prime Minister Modi that we selected the overcast because we knew that whenever it is overcast, तो clouds में हमारे जहाज उनको नजर नहीं आएंगे and we will be able to hide behind the clouds. So it was a very naive and a statement by a person who doesn't know anything about the aviation, because the electromagnetic waves are not dependent on the clouds. When cloud cover is there, they are not going to cross. Irrespective of the cloud cover, we saw them. We exactly knew they are coming and we were ready. That is why they were unable to cross, and whatever payload they had to deliver, they delivered it from across the border, and they had to return because our response was there. Because the moment they had to, if they opted to cross, then probably the same numbers would not have returned. They might have suffered many losses. So this is what actually they did, and then they basically इसको उन्होंने इनकैश किया फॉर देयर पॉलिटिकल कैंपेन. हमने टेररिस्ट को उसमें 300 टेररिस्ट का फिगर उन्होंने दिया और उसके बाद ग्लोबल मीडिया के ऊपर भी लाने की कोशिश की. बट प्राइमरीली इट वाज मेंट फॉर देयर इंटरनल ऑडियंस. और आपने और इसका रिजल्ट क्या निकला? यू कैन रिकॉल दैट they won 2019. BJP won 2019 elections. So that was basically. But when next day we had an option either to take it lightly or take it to the UN or put it on media or launch some sort of.
अच्छा सर, इसी के ऊपर ही एक चीज़ यहाँ पे ये बताइएगा कि how important is it to retaliate या response देना, क्योंकि अक्सर हमने देखा है कि बार बार आप जाएं अगर UN के पास भी तो आपके एक हद तक आपकी बात सुनी जाती है, उसके बाद दे टेक यू फॉर ग्रांटेड एज वेल. या कभी कभार आपको फोर्सफुल रिप्लाई भी देना ज़रूरी होता है. ऑफ कोर्स वी आर नॉट डूइंग वॉर मॉन्गरिंग टैक्टिक्स ओवर हियर, लेकिन स्टिल कुछ जगहों पे आपको प्रूव करना होता है दैट यू आर अ फोर्स एंड यू आर अ नेशन टू बी एक्सेप्टेड.
देखिए Uzair, to start with, I would say we are primarily a peace-loving nation. War is not our objective, but we would not let anyone dictate us their terms. And whenever they have tried so, I call it misadventure. If you do not respond, then next time it is going to be even the bigger misadventure.
Yeah.
So we started off with a quid pro quo plus strategy. It's a function of deterrence. Deterrence to the adversary that if they decide to do some misadventure, launch an attack, the likely attrition or the response is going to be so big and so intense that as a nation, as a country, as a service, they will not be able to withstand.
Sorry.
So that is a function of deterrence. But deterrence खाली अल्फाज से तो नहीं आती. If you keep saying or rhetoric से तो deterrence नहीं आती. Your actions have to speak louder than words. So our response करना was definitely, we didn't have an option to. We had to. Now, the situation was that we were ready, I think within 2 hours of 26th February night, after they launched airstrikes, we were ready within 2 hours to launch. But there was a sanity on the part of the leadership, and fortunately, I was serving in the air headquarters at that time, sitting in the situation room and watching almost the entire setup. So actually, we had an option either to immediately go and as a quid pro quo conduct the strikes. Second, our leadership decided, okay,
you mean the targets were already locked as well from our side?
Yes.
अगर उसके response हमने करना है जो भी.
In our scenario, we have pre-decided that in this type of situation, we will destroy these targets. There are military targets, there are industrial targets, there are, because attacking the population is not an option. That's not our policy. So we straight away went for the military targets. And that includes the army or the navy or the air force or the air bases. Even in that case also, one was that we wanted to find out the extent of damage, that they have delivered some attacks. But what is the extent of damage so that it becomes easier for us to launch a measured response, a calibrated response. Second, we didn't want to go or launch our attacks during night. We wanted to go during daytime. And we wanted to go with announced attacks. We will not go unannounced. So we announced, went in a daylight. It was around 9, quarter to 10 or 10 in the morning. We destroyed their 6 targets. We locked on to their air to ground.
No, I still remember the statement by DG ISPR at that time that we will surprise you, and we actually surprised them.
There, I would one element I would like to highlight that how we didn't want to escalate. We are not a warmongering nation. We locked all 6 military targets, and technology की आपने बात की, उन जो missiles हमने launch किए थे, every missile had picture relayed to back their command and control centers through those inbuilt cameras. Every missile had a camera installed in them, and when they were launched and they were from air to ground heading to their intended targets, the entire picture was being transmitted to the command and control center. We exactly knew, and just when the missiles were about to hit those military targets, like they were the brigade headquarters or the ammunition dumps, right on the 12th moment, we diverted their final intention to the nearby empty ground.
Okay.
Coming back to 2019. So in that way, we were able to destroy 2 of their frontline aircraft. One was the MiG-21 Bison, which was being flown by very famous Wing Commander Abhinandan, who was shot within Pakistan. He fell within Pakistan. He was apprehended, taken as POW, but later on he was released as a goodwill gesture because we wanted to show it that our real objective is not to fight war and become a sort of an individual or to be taken as a country who is looking for the opportunities to fight wars. And there was another Su-30, one of their leading aircraft, which was shot, and unfortunately, because of the fog of war, the IAF ended up shooting down one of their own helicopters, which was actually, we suppose, were going for the search and rescue for the wreckage of that Su-30, which was being shot by Pakistan. So that was all.
Out of panic?
Out of panic. The fog of war means when things are not clear and your decision-making cycle is not as clear as possible or as is desired. So they end up doing wrong actions, and it was primarily a fratricide. As you yourself end up killing your own aircraft or shooting your own aircraft. So that was the strategy which we call as quid pro quo plus. quid pro quo means in exchange. Plus that if you do something, we will respond under Article 51 of the UN Charter that we have the right to self-defense. But when we respond, it will be something plus. And that plus is primarily to deter, to create deterrence. That we will respond. Second, we will respond at least in the same coin. Third, it will be anything plus, and that plus will be decided by us. In which domain?
Agreed.
Similarly, that is why you see that immediately after that incident in one of the political rallies, Indian Prime Minister Modi, if you recall, he said कि अगर हमारे पास राफेल होते तो ये situation different होती. Means they were actually eyeing for or looking for the कि राफेल जो है उनके पास आ जाए. And now we straight away come over to May 2025. Again, another false flag operation. Pakistan has been asking for them कि आप हमें उसके कोई सबूत दें. We can conduct a joint inquiry. We can involve a third country for conducting an inquiry. And let's find out if they would have been clean nationally or politically, they would have agreed to the suggestions given by Pakistan. But as later on it was proved to be a false flag operation, so they wanted to have a reason for launching a strike against Pakistan. So now the second thing you talked about, the gap of 6 years. So one, we knew that they are not going to sit like this because they were hurt. Their 2 of their aircraft were shot down. They were humiliated. Their military was humiliated. Their political leadership was humiliated. Internationally, even the manufacturers of F-16, because they made one claim that they shot one of the Pakistani F-16. Yeah. So that was also nullified by the manufacturer of the F-16, that there was nothing like this. So all their political claims, they were proven wrong at the international level. They had to cut sorry figure, and उनको एक बहुत embarrassment हुई at national and more so in a global setting. तो they were looking for, और दूसरा मैंने पहले अर्ज किया कि they somehow came up with a recipe that whenever there are some elections, you conduct a false flag operation and launch a strike against Pakistan and use that strike as the rhetoric to gain political mileage.
Right.
और एक रेसिपी वो 2019 में कर चुके थे, तो they thought it's a replicable, ये दोबारा भी हो सकता है. They did it in 2025. We were ready in terms of technology, gaining more equipment, more modern platforms, long range, beyond visual range missiles, airborne warning and control systems, EW platforms, and even so much so we had the last domain, I would say, cyber and space domains also inducted or integrated into our overall scheme of operations. So when you have these 5-6 domains all available at your disposal, and
well coordinated as well,
coordinated, integrated,
yeah,
and through their real-time integration, what happens? You are able to defeat the decision-making cycle of your adversary.
Right.
Second, one, I think it will be of immense importance to your audience. One new concept I am bringing in. Normally, since this air power advent has started, new strategies, they were conceived by the West. They have been strategists. There are a number of, there are big names in the field of aviation history. They strategize few things, then they carry out their simulated application. They conduct then live exercises, and if the opportunity comes, then they apply those tactics and strategies during wars. And for the rest of the world, they are to follow the same tactics and strategies which have been conceived and strategized by the Western strategists. Now, this multi-domain operation concept, which was materialized during the May 6th and 7th night, it was a seamless integration of all these, starting from space down till launch of weapons, integration of all the platforms in such a way that you get into the decision-making cycle of your adversary and leave them in a state of dilemma. By the time they come to know something has happened, it's
too late. Maybe
it's too late, and probably the required damage has already been done. Now there is a normal pattern. First look, first shoot concept. That all the modern platforms, they have their airborne intercept radars with them. With the help of those radars, they see the enemy. And after you see the enemy, anyone who sees first, now he's supposed to have the longer range beyond visual range missiles. So see first, shoot first. But one wouldn't use this at this time. There was somebody else who was seeing these. These targets were illuminated, or they were seen by, for instance, maybe a feed from satellite or feed from AVAX. And all these elements, they were integrated through Pakistan's own developed data link.
अच्छा सर, इसी से लिंक्ड एक क्वेश्चन ये है कि हाउ पाकिस्तान एक्चुअली रिफ्रेन्ड इटसेल्फ, चाहे वो 2019 का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो या 2025 का. यह मेंशन्ड कि जो साइबर की अगर हम बात करें, जो उसका एलिमेंट था वो ज़्यादा यूज़ हुआ इन 2025. दोनों सिचुएशंस में हाउ पाकिस्तान हेल्प इटसेल्फ कि उसके प्लेन्स डैमेज ना हो या वो किसी हादसे का शिकार ना बने.
Good. First of all, I think during the 2019 and 2025, Pakistan Air Force did not cross the border.
Okay.
We shot them down while remaining within our own borders. Now, to do that, you need to have a weapon system which should be able to shoot the adversary with this much of distance. Now, just to quote you example, during 2025, Pakistan Air Force, Alhamdulillah, set a new record of, it's a global record of shooting the adversary from the farthest distance. We shot one of the missiles which was connected to the Rafale was as far as 198 kilometers.
Okay.
So especially, let me start by saying that Rafale is one of the, I think, most lethal, most modern aircraft with all the necessary paraphernalia which can be there, which can be imagined in any 4+ generation or 4.5 generation aircraft. It has the best avionics, it has the best air-to-air missiles, it has the best platform, and anything which you can consider that is required for a modern aircraft, it's there in that. So by any means, Rafale is not an inferior platform than any other aircraft or a contemporary platform of this type. So there was nothing wrong, but there was something wrong with the way these were employed. For instance, presently, Rafale is a French platform, and they have the platforms from USA or from the Russian, mainly Russian, MiG-29s and Su-30. They are all from the Russian origin. So there was a serious issue of interoperability. So when you have, let's say, 10 aircraft in the air, all 10 should be able to talk to each other. Everyone is watching the enemy through their own radars. They should be able to share the picture with each other that, okay, I am watching this, you are watching this, you are watching this, and you integrate that picture into one picture so that everyone now, instead of seeing,
has the same thing,
has the same picture. So there was a serious issue of interoperability. Second, because of this issue, there was no integration of these platforms within themselves or with their AVACs or with their ground-based command and control centers. Third, their EW, electronic warfare suits, were not used that optimally, that they save themselves from the adversary's onslaught of electronic warfare, and simultaneously they inflict damage to the adversary platform. Now you asked, how come Pakistan Air Force was able to save all the platforms, alhamdulillah, during 2019 and 2025? So one, We fired all the missiles from Swiss frontier. We used new concept of war fighting. We strategized new things, and believe me, there are still, even the modern air forces are still contemplating that what actually transpired, what actually happened, and they have included this battle of 100 plus aircraft into their air war colleges and air war university to be taught to their students. So one thing, you shoot them transfrontier, use the newer technologies, and then there are inbuilt and standoff and escort EW platforms. Platform itself also has the electronic warfare, and there is a dedicated aircraft which is doing the same thing, that it is transmitting high-powered electromagnetic waves into the enemy, and it is jamming them, creating interference. They are unable to talk to each other, and they are unable to talk to their ground-based stations, and they are unable to even share the video link or the pictures through any data link, even within themselves.
Okay.
So if no matter how modern platform you have, no matter how it's not working. Like another very interesting thing. In every aircraft there are warning systems. That जब भी कोई adversary aircraft आपको lock करता है या आपको देखता है पहले, okay, I will have a warning in the aircraft that okay, I am being eliminated by the adversary. So I start taking remedial action. Second is when somebody locks me. Lock means that he intends
ready for attack. Yeah.
He intends launching a missile onto me. So that lock warning is also there. Then the third is that missile approach warning MAWS. That is another system which is present within the aircraft. That when the missile is approaching, now I have a last warning to undertake a last ditch maneuver. Now this entire action, for instance, starts at 100 kilometers. And because of the third party guidance, because of the integrated operations, that poor guy sitting in the cockpit of Rafale, he came to know that missile is approaching me when he had something like, if we translate that range into time, 7 to 8 seconds of early warning.
Okay.
In 7 to 8 seconds, he has to decide the entire sequence. So I think in number of cases, those pilots did not even come to know that something is coming.
They are being logged as well.
They are being logged, they are being shot, and they didn't have time. Few of them went with the aircraft. So when you start having ascendancy in every domain, what was the result of that 6 to 7 nights? 7, 8 aircraft were lost. Next 4 days, the entire Indian Air Force was grounded. They were retrieved from the international border to as deep as 300 kilometers. And I would say it on record, this was the first time ever, including the 65 and 71 wars and the other skirmishes, that we had complete air superiority against the Indian Air Force.
Okay.
Because they had a fear that the moment they get airborne, they will be shot. The moment...
So, if we are going to talk about 4 to 5 things that we have learned in this particular war, 2025 की बात करें, तो एक तो आपने mention किया कि they were shot from the furthest most distance. एक ये चीज़ थी जो कि दूसरे लोग भी study कर रहे हैं. उसके अलावा 3 to 4 more points for the audience to
for instance,
get from this incident.
There is no substitute to the optimal use of technology.
Absolutely.
Situational awareness is the foremost thing in the air combat. If you are situationally more aware than the adversary and you are ahead in terms of time and space, you are seeing the adversary first, you are taking the decisions first, and by the time they see you, it's too late. So staying ahead in terms of time and space. And then integration of entire war machine. If you have 10, 20, 30, 40 elements in the air and they are not well gelled with each other, they are not integrated. So in today's environment, if you are not integrated, then you are at the mercy of your adversaries.
True.
And believe me, we shot them like, I think sarcastically, President Trump has repeated number of times, maybe sometime started from 5, then 6, then 7, and latest he has narrated now there are 8 aircraft. Actually, there people are
So what was the actual number? क्योंकि मुझे याद है कि the conversation between the cockpits was also shared and the panic situation that was happening between the cockpits of the Indian Air Force side, वो चीज़ भी share हुई थी. उसको किस तरह nullify करेंगे? Already कर चुके हैं कि that was all made up things and everything. So I was talking to a friend at that time and I was like पाकिस्तानी फिल्म इंडस्ट्रीज ऑफ कोर्स दे आर डूइंग गुड, बट इतना एडवांस शायद नहीं है कि वो विद इन फ्यू सेकंड्स पूरी पूरी स्क्रिप्ट या इस तरह की चीज़ें बना के जो है वो दें कि भाई ये भी चीज़ हो चुकी है. एंड दैट वाज मैटर ऑफ सेकंड्स. राइट नाउ दे आर क्लेमिंग कि जो 6 या 7 एयरक्राफ्ट जो नीचे दे वर डाउन, इट्स द पाकिस्तान साइड एज वेल. तो ये आपको कितना हिलेरियस लगता है या ये आपको कितना इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है सुनना कि इतने टाइम बाद जो है अब वो सिचुएशन रिवर्स हो रही है और वो जो क्लेम शायद पाकिस्तान का था अब वो इंडिया कर रहा है.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. मैंने इसके ऊपर एक आर्टिकल लिखा है विच हैज ऑलरेडी बीन पब्लिश्ड कि इंडियन एयरफोर्स चीफ, नाउ दिस इज द हाईएस्ट लेवल ऑफ सीनियरिटी एंड एक्सपीरियंस
एंड क्रेडिबिलिटी ऑफ कोर्स.
क्रेडिबिलिटी ऑफ कोर्स. उस जंग के 95 डेज के बाद मीडिया पे आते हैं और आके कहते हैं कि वी हैव शॉट डाउन दीज मैनी एयरक्राफ्ट फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान. Whereas whenever you make a claim onto the adversary, तो आपको उस क्लेम को साबित करने के लिए कुछ सबूत भी देने होते हैं. पाकिस्तान ने क्या किया? पाकिस्तान ने जितने एयरक्राफ्ट शूट किए हैं हर एयरक्राफ्ट का टेल नंबर तक दिया. जिस तरह हर गाड़ी का एक नंबर होता है
जी,
टेल नंबर की, ये वाला एयरक्राफ्ट इस टेल नंबर के साथ शूट हो गया. हर एयरक्राफ्ट के शूट होने की लोकेशन बताई. हर एयरक्राफ्ट के शूट होने का जो मिसाइल था कि किस एयरक्राफ्ट ने या हमारी तरफ से किस, जैसे ये वाला शूट किया J-10C ने, ये वाला शूट किया J-17 ने, JF-17 ने. इवन यहाँ तक डिटेल हमने बताई. हमने उनकी ज्योग्राफिकल लोकेशंस बताई और ये हमारे जो क्लेम हैं दे वर वेरीफाइड बाय द ग्लोबल मीडिया, बाय द सैटेलाइट पिक्चर्स एंड बाय द एयरक्राफ्ट मैन्युफैक्चरर्स इंक्लूडिंग Dassault of Rafale. And till date there is a conflict going on between the French manufacturers and the Indian Air Force, that Indian Air Force is not opening up the inventory of the Rafale to the manufacturers.
Still.
And if they have, let's say, for instance, हम एक सपोज कर लेते हैं कि इंडियन एयरफोर्स चीफ के जो क्लेम है वो ठीक है, और ये जो मैंने सारे आपको क्यूज बताए हैं, आजकल तो मैं भी दे रहा मोर टेक्निकल क्यूज कि इवन कॉकपिट के अंदर भी बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन आपके पास डिस्प्ले होती है कि जब आपने अपने एडवर्सरी को आपने उसको लॉक किया है वो भी इंफॉर्मेशन आ जाती है, टाइप ऑफ एयरक्राफ्ट आ जाती है, डिस्टेंस आ जाता है, रेंज आ जाती है, बेरिंग आ जाती है, ऑल्टीट्यूड आ जाता है. ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द टारगेट एयरक्राफ्ट आपके पास कॉकपिट में डिस्प्ले हो रहा है और वो सेम इंफॉर्मेशन इज बीइंग ट्रांसपोर्टेड टू द ग्राउंड कंट्रोल स्टेशन ऑल्सो. और फिर जब फर्स्ट करें अगर हमारे 7-8 जहाज शूट हुए हैं तो कोई रैकेज होगा, कोई उसकी रेंज एंड बेरिंग में कोई लोकेशन होगी, कोई मीडिया के ऊपर कोई चीज आई होगी, कोई फ्यूनरल्स वगैरह हुए होंगे. यू कांट हाइड नाउ डेज. इवन उनके जो लॉस्ट एयरक्राफ्ट थे
वो लोकली वहां के लोगों
ने अपने वो पिक्चर बना के अपलोड कर ली. तो इज देयर एनीथिंग? इट्स अ रिडिकुलस क्लेम. ऐसा क्लेम करके ही हैज पुट हिमसेल्फ एज अ लाफिंग स्टॉक इन फ्रंट ऑफ द रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. पीपल आर मेकिंग फन ऑफ. और ये मुझे इतना अफसोस हो रहा है ये बात कह के कि एयर चीफ मार्शल इज अ वेरी सीनियर रैंक, वेरी क्रेडिबल रैंक, और उस लेवल के ऊपर, और प्रॉबेबली जो मैंने भी लिखा भी है इसके ऊपर, जो मेरे अपनी असर्शन है, इट वाज अ पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड स्टेटमेंट. ही वाज फोर्स्ड कि आप जाएं मीडिया में और ये बातें करें, बिकॉज
विदाउट थिंकिंग ऑफ द रिपरकशंस के क्या फेस करने पड़ेंगे.
जब चीफ ऑफ द एयर स्टाफ ने कोई स्टेटमेंट देनी होती है ना, तो उसकी स्पीच पहले से लिखी जाती है और वो स्पीच आफ्टर द इवेंट थ्रू देयर मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ ब्रॉडकास्टिंग वो मीडिया को भी दी जाती है. चीफ ने ये बातें की हैं. इंटरेस्टिंगली जो स्पीच इंडियन एयरफोर्स चीफ की मीडिया को दी गई है उसमें ये बात है ही नहीं. इट्स अवेलेबल
लास्ट मोमेंट, मतलब आपको लग रहा है लास्ट मोमेंट पे या फिर वो इंटेंशनली उसमें से ओमिट की गई. इट इज नॉट टू बी रिकॉर्डेड टाइप ऑफ. तो ये दीज आर बेसलेस रिडिकुलस क्लेम्स, और जो इंडिया just to satisfy the local audience.
Exactly.
लेकिन international audience तो of course आप जैसे mention कर रहे हैं, they are going to ask for the credible evidence for each of the claims.
Exactly. तो अगर आप अपने क्लेम को साबित करने के लिए अगर कोई सबूत नहीं देंगे, कोई एविडेंस प्रोवाइड नहीं करेंगे, तो आपकी बात ना सिर्फ कि इस दफा कोई नहीं मानेगा, आइंदा भी यू हैव लॉस्ट योर क्रेडिबिलिटी, यू आर इन अ हैबिट ऑफ गिविंग लूज स्टेटमेंट्स, और दैट टू एट दिस लेवल। और फिर उनके तीन तरफ से, एक उनके जो CDS है जनरल चौहान, उन्होंने एक्सेप्ट किया कि उनके एयरक्राफ्ट लूज हो गए हैं। जनरल भारती, उनके जो एयर मार्शल भारती, जो कि ड्यूरिंग द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जिन्होंने आके जो उनकी ट्राई सर्विसेज की ब्रीफ हुई थी, उसने भी आके उन्होंने एक्सेप्ट किया। और इंडिया का जो नेवल अटैची है इन इंडोनेशिया, व्हाइल टॉकिंग एट सम फोरम, ही आल्सो एक्सेप्टेड दैट वी लॉस्ट नंबर ऑफ एयरक्राफ्ट। तो ये तो उनकी तरफ से एक्सेप्ट किया जा रहा है, और ग्लोबल एविडेंस भी मौजूद है, पाकिस्तान ने भी एविडेंस दी है। लेकिन अगर हम दोनों के दरमियान में कोई डिस्प्यूट है और मैं उस डिस्प्यूट के अपने क्लेम को साबित करने के लिए कोई एविडेंस देता हूं, अनलेस ईदर यू रिफ्यूट माई एविडेंस और गिव अ काउंटर एविडेंस, आपके ख्याल में जो सब लोग बैठे हैं, इज देयर एनीवन हु इज गोइंग टू बिलीव? नो वन इज गोइंग टू बिलीव। और आजकल तो सैटेलाइट का जमाना है, रियल टाइम, जैसा मैंने शुरू में कहा, बैटलफील्ड्स आर ट्रांसपेरेंट। अब इतने सारे सेंसर्स हैं स्पेस से लेकर तो ग्राउंड बेस तक, कि आप, वो जमाना गया कि जब आप जहाज को छुपा के और चीजों को सरप्राइज एलिमेंट गेन करना हो, सरप्राइज लाइज इन सम अदर डोमेन। अब हाइड करने में सरप्राइज नहीं है, अब सरप्राइज किसी और डोमेन में आ गया। तो इन ऐसी ट्रांसपेरेंसी और इतनी खुली किताब की तरह और इतना ओपन मीडिया और इतना ग्लोबल आपकी एक स्टैंडिंग है, और उसके बाद आप इस तरह की स्टेटमेंट दें जो कि वेरीफाइएबल नहीं है, जो कि रिफ्यूटेबल है, जो कि हर जगह के ऊपर जो है वो उसको डिनाई किया जा रहा है, हर जगह आपका मजाक उड़ाया जा रहा है। एंड कमिंग फ्रॉम अ पर्सन लाइक एयर चीफ मार्शल ऑफ अ बिग कंट्री, वेरी वेरी डिसअपॉइंटेड।
अच्छा सर, कमिंग टू द पोलिश एयरफोर्स, व्हाइल माय टीम वाज गैदरिंग इंफॉर्मेशन, तो उन्होंने हमें बताया कि पोलिश एयरफोर्स का पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स के साथ भी एक कुछ कोलैबोरेटिव मेजर है। थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में बताएं, बिकॉज दिस इज समथिंग वेरी न्यू टू मी पर्टिकुलरली।
वाओ, आई थिंक यू हैव डन अ गुड होमवर्क, एंड दिस इज द फील्ड which is very less talked about and very, I would say, least explored. And there is a sizable segment within the Pakistan Air Force who is not aware of the contributions of the Polish airmen in establishing the Royal Pakistan Air Force.
Wow.
There was a contingent of 30 Polish pilots, engineers and technicians, which were through a mutual contract. It was not a country-to-country contract.
Okay.
Because during the right in the beginning of the Second World War, Poland went under the Nazi control.
Ji.
So their country was occupied by the Germans, so they had to flee. And rest of the wars they fought either from Austria. First they went to Austria, from Austria they went to France, and from they went to UK. So the rest of the war they fought against the Germans from Royal Air Force. But once the war was over, they were left high and dry. They had no home, no country. UK Air Force, the Royal Air Force, it did not own them. They disowned them. They gave them that, okay, you are no more required, because I think there was an element of mistrust also, because they were once in the camp of the other side, and then they could not go back to their own country. So in that, there were a number of people who went to many other countries, including USA and some other European countries. During that time, Pakistan was in a flux. Initially, there were a lot of problems. Britishers, they had already left, and whatever little number of aircraft we received as a distribution plan of the 1947, we didn't have the air crew. जहाज उड़ाने के लिए पायलट नहीं थे, मेंटेन करने के लिए इंजीनियर्स नहीं थे. So we went for a contract. Somebody referred, even the Britishers referred us that, okay, these people. So there was a contingent which was made. We went to UK and we entered into a private contracts between these people and the government of
Pakistan. And which year was it exactly?
1948.
Okay.
December 1948, these 30 people landed in Karachi.
Wow.
And the senior most person was at that time squadron leader Turovich. And there were pilots, there were engineers. From 1948 till 1981, the last Polish died in 1981. and he was Air Commodore Torovich, later who became Air Commodore. Air Commodore is a one-star general in the Air Force, and he, during 1965 war, very valuable services. He was the chief maintenance officer of the Pakistan Air Force. Pakistan was under sanctions, and through innovation, through expertise, he was the one who was behind maintenance of the Pakistan Air Force fleet to an extent of 100% and availability of the aerial platform up to 97%. He was the Assistant Chief of Air Staff, Maintenance, Air Commodore Torovich in 1965 war. He was the one who actually conceived the idea of Sparko. He was the first director of Sparko. In early 60s, Pakistan launched 200 sounding rockets in space. Pakistan was ahead of entire countries, all the countries in the region in the space domain. And he was the first director of space. And there are reports that in the same time frame, he was the one who actually he arranged the training of Pakistani astronauts, or the Pakistani people who were supposed to be the people who to become astronauts later on, but it could not materialize. But 4 scientists were sent to NASA for training. He was the one who negotiated this training. And it is also believed that in the same time span, he was the pioneer of Pakistan's nuclear program as well. So I would say indigenization. Nowadays, Pakistan is the only one very important thing that we have 193 countries. There are a lot of first world countries, second world countries, aircraft manufacturers. There is only one country in the world whose air force is involved in conceiving, planning, manufacturing and using the most modern platforms. That is Pakistan Air Force.
अच्छा सर, let's talk about the impregnable systems जो कि different countries के हैं. अगर हम इसराइल की बात करें तो आयरन डोम है, अगर इंडिया की बात करें तो S-400 है. S-400 ज़्यादातर डिबेट में आया इस इंसिडेंट के बाद, जब पाकिस्तान ने क्लेम किया कि S-400 के जो लॉन्चर्स हैं उनको डिस्ट्रॉय किया गया. थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में बताइए कि जब ये कोई इस तरह के क्लेम करता है, हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इज़ इट टू स्टैंड बाय दैट क्लेम पर्टिकुलरली, क्योंकि उसके बाद मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो दूसरी एडवर्सरीज है आपकी, वो उस क्लेम को गलत साबित करने में लग जाती हैं, ताकि वो आपको एक तरीके से शर्मिंदा भी करें ग्लोबली, और वो आपके जो सिस्टम है उसको सैबोटाज करें. थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में बताइए. एक आयरन डोम के कंपैरिजन में अगर S-400 को हम देखें,
आयरन डोम में इट्स अ मल्टी लेयर्ड एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम. इसमें स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम एरो 2 है, एरो 1 है, और इसके अलावा डेविड स्लिंग है. नंबर ऑफ सिस्टम्स व्हेन कंबाइंड टुगेदर इंटीग्रेटेड इनटू वन कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर. और वो ये क्लेम करते हैं कि इट्स अ इम्प्रेग्नेबल एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम, और ये डिजाइंड है टू इंगेज स्लो स्पीड टारगेट्स, मिसाइल्स, high speed targets, agile, non-agile, multiple platforms at one time. But it was never exposed to the real-time war scenario. It was exposed against peaceful adversaries. First time we saw Iron Dome being exposed in front of the Iranian incoming ballistic and cruise missiles. And we saw that Iron Dome was never impregnable. It was breached thoroughly, and there was a huge level of destruction within Israel caused by the Irani ballistic and cruise missiles. So we can very safely conclude the best of the best system which we claim, or the Israelis and the Americans claim, is the David Sling or the Arrow 2 combination into Iron Dome. It's not impregnable, and it can be defeated and it can be breached. Now coming over to the S-400. S-400 is a Russian system. Very interestingly, and I think very less people will know that, S-400 have 4 types of missiles. Missile with 60 kilometer range, 120 kilometer range, 250 kilometer range, 400 kilometers. 400 kilometer range missile Russia has not provided to any outside country. Why? Because of the embargo placed due to MTCR.
Okay. And that is?
MTCR is a test control regime you cannot export missiles with more than 300 kilometers. So the longest missile of S-400 is not given to the Indians. So now they are left with 3 missiles, 250 kilometers, 120 and 60 kilometers. 60 kilometers is for a close-in, as a very smaller ranges. Now, 250 kilometer missile is effective against at 250 maximum range. It is effective against wide body, bigger aircraft like Boeing's C-130s or C-17 Globemasters, bigger aircraft, wide body. Number 2, they should be flying high so that it can make a line of sight. Number 3, they should be non-agile, not able to do this like fighters.
Okay, maneuvers zyada
not maneuverable, non-agile platform, flying high and a wide body aircraft and coming straight in. Now, you superimpose it to the fighters, to the Pakistan. For instance, JF-17. When we know that this is the location of the S-400, will we follow this profile which I have just?
Yeah.
We will not be high level. We will not be non-agile. We will not be coming straight in, and we are not the wide body aircraft. So under the absence of these factors, the missile range broadly shrinks to 50%. So that 250 straight away comes to 120. Okay. Now, the second element is the dilemma with the Indians, which they faced. And अभी जो हमारा ऑपरेशन मार के हक था, उसमें ये बात साबित हुई. Because we destroyed two of their batteries, one in the south, one in the north. And it was, देखें, claim वो है जो verify हो by the manufacturers. Russians, they ensured satellite pictures, they ensured even later on when Prime Minister Modi visited Udhampur. So basically he went to have some sort of a goodwill with the people who were killed.
And I guess they showed the S-400 अपने
destroyed sites. Yes.
नहीं, उन्होंने बैक पे शायद वो दिखाया था अपना कि ये एक्चुअल इंटैक्ट है, वो चीज डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं हुई.
Launchers only.
Launchers, yeah.
इसका जो कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर था, that was destroyed.
Okay.
इसलिए इन्होंने 2 प्लेटफॉर्म्स की मजीद अभी ऑर्डर प्लेस किया है रशिया को. अब ये तो पूरी दुनिया ने देख लिया. अब दो प्लेटफॉर्म्स के एडिशनल ऑर्डर, एक तो 2 प्लेटफॉर्म इनको ऑलरेडी डिलीवर ही नहीं हुए, 5 होने थे, 3 हुए हैं. एक तो वो 2 अभी 2027 तक आने हैं, वो यूक्रेन वॉर की वजह से डिलीवरी उनकी डिले हो गई है. और ये जो 2 डिस्ट्रॉय हुए हैं, इनकी रिप्लेसमेंट इन्होंने ऑर्डर किया है रशिया को. अब तो एवरीथिंग इज अवेलेबल ऑन द सोशल मीडिया. नथिंग इज हिडन. एवरीथिंग नोज एवरीथिंग. तो इसके अंदर जब दूसरा एलिमेंट है डायलेमा ऑफ डिप्लॉयबिलिटी. अच्छा, अब उन्होंने अगर फर्स्ट करें रेंज श्रिंक हो गई है 120 किलोमीटर. अब इसका मतलब है कि अगर उन्होंने पाकिस्तान के अंदर एक शूटिंग अचीव करनी है तो बॉर्डर के करीब लेके आएंगे. पाकिस्तान के पास एयर टू ग्राउंड प्रिसीजन गाइडेड लॉन्ग रेंज स्टैंड ऑफ वेपन है विद द रेंज ऑफ 400 किलोमीटर्स. एनीथिंग विच इज 50, 60, 70, 80 किलोमीटर्स हमारे लिए तो सिटिंग डक्स है. हम तो अपने, बल्कि जो ट्रेनिंग पायलट्स हैं उनको कहेंगे यार अपनी प्रैक्टिस करें जाके. सो इन ऑर्डर टू अवॉइड बीइंग शॉट फ्रॉम द एयर टू ग्राउंड, दे विल टेक इट बैक. And when they take it back, where is the effectiveness? So now the Indians are caught between the deployability and vulnerability. If they come forward, it's vulnerable to the air-to-ground weapons. If they retreat back, then they are no more effective. So इस बैकग्राउंड में अभी वेरी रिसेंटली मैंने एक और आर्टिकल लिखा है कि इंडिया की जो नई इंडक्शंस हैं, इंक्लूडिंग S-400 एंड इंक्लूडिंग राफेल, आर द एसेट्स और आर द लाइबिलिटीज. और इस पर्टिकुलर सर्कमस्टांसिस में जब आपका एडवर्सरी डिटरमिन्ड है, वेरी वेल इक्विप्ड है, और उनकी जो एयरफोर्स है वो आपकी पीयर कंपेटिटर है, इट्स नॉट लेसर देन यू. सो इन दैट केस इट बिकम्स अ डायलेमा फॉर यू कि भाई अपने नई इंडक्शंस और नए एसेट्स को आप उनको बचाएं कि यूज करें. अगर यूज करने के लिए आगे लेके आते हैं, दे आर डिस्ट्रॉयड. और एक बैटरी S-400 की $1.1 billion की.
Okay.
1.1 billion. So 2 batteries mean $2.2 billion. These are the, and ये अभी तक जितने हमारे ये वाले जो क्लेम है, एंड दीज शॉट्स वर अचीव्ड बाय alhamdulillah JF-17 of Block 3 Pakistan Air Force, and they have not come up with any counter arguments were they destroyed or not. So S-400 is basically a liability for the, especially जो हमारा current geopolitical और geostrategic environment है. हम दो compatible air forces हैं, वो उनका मुकाबला जो है वो let's say I'm not undermining any of the smaller countries, let's say उनका मुकाबला श्रीलंका से नहीं है, मालदीव से नहीं है, भूटान से नहीं है. They have Pakistan to confront. और पाकिस्तान के पास अभी हमने इसको साबित किया है पूरी दुनिया में कि we are, Pakistan and India are peer competitors. They cannot bully us. So the best way is कि आप एक अच्छे हमसायों की तरह, because you can change friends but you can't change your neighbors.
Okay, do you think is it the part of the new warfare जो है जिसको global strategies भी define कर रहे हैं कि ये modern warfare की एक नई जो अभी हमने देखी है एक रेंज चल रही है, is it part of that?
Yes, partly I would say yes.
Okay. And
it is part of the new concept of war fighting or part of the new strategy which we have utilized, and that is multi-domain operations conducted in an integrated environment, and all the integrated paraphernalia is built in Pakistan.
Okay. And
this data link is actually conceived and made through indigenous efforts.
अच्छा सर, कमिंग टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, दिस थिंग केम टू माई माइंड कि जब वो इंडियन एनालिस्ट जब बैठे हुए थे चैनल्स के ऊपर भी, एंड हमने दुनिया भर में भी देखा कि उसके ऊपर बातचीत चल रही थी, तो इंडिया इज एन ओपन लाइक इंडिया इज गेटिंग देयर वॉर इक्विपमेंट्स फ्रॉम अराउंड द ग्लोब फ्रॉम डिफरेंट कंट्रीज एज वेल. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ये तो एक एडवांटेज है किसी भी कंट्री के लिए कि वो जो चीज़ चाहे ले सकते हैं, नोइंग द फैक्ट दैट दे कैन बाय एनीथिंग. उनके जो ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी साइज है, और अक्सर जो उनके एनालिस्ट हैं वो अक्सर यही वाली बात करते हैं कि हमारे लिए ये लॉसेस अब नॉर्मल हैं, पायलट या जो हमारा सोल्जर है वो इम्पोर्टेंट है, हम जितने चाहें चीज़ें खरीद सकते हैं. तो डू यू थिंक दिस इज एक्टिंग एज अ बेनिफिट फॉर इंडिया, या आपको लगता है उसका नुकसान हो रहा है इंडिया को इस टाइम के ऊपर? ये जो क्लेम्स हैं, क्योंकि बाइंग भी कर रहे हैं वो, अपने आप को अपग्रेड भी कर रहे हैं, उनका डिफेंस बजट भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, लेकिन स्टिल दे आर अनएबल टू डिलीवर.
आई थिंक वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट क्वेश्चन. और इसमें क्वेश्चन इसको यूं हम कह सकते हैं कि डिस्पाइट हैविंग वन ऑफ द बेस्ट वॉर मशीन्स फ्रॉम ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड,
जी,
दे कुड नॉट डिलीवर. मैं इसका जवाब स्टार्ट करूंगा विद वन वेरी फेमस स्मॉल कोट. इट्स नॉट द मशीन, इट्स द मैन बिहाइंड द मशीन. इट्स नॉट द गन, इट्स द मैन बिहाइंड द गन. You can have best of the equipment in the world. आप फ्रांस से रफाल ले सकते हैं, आप अमेरिका से F-18 ले सकते हैं, आप रशिया से Su-57 ले सकते हैं, आप फ्रांस से कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर ले सकते हैं, आप इजराइल से बेस्ट ऑफ द एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम ले सकते हैं. इन्हें ऑपरेट किसने करना है?
ट्रू, लोगों ने
ऑपरेट तो उन्होंने नहीं करना आगे. नंबर वन, in their individual capacity, they are the best systems, no doubt in it. They are the best systems, अपनी capacity में. But when you do not have them integrated and gelled into one war fighting machine, they become liability instead of becoming an asset. And we have seen it in May 2025. Their aerial platforms, I would say, they were best of the world. Su-30, one of the best aerial machines. Rafale, one of the best aerial machines. But what happened? इनकी expertise, इनकी best utilization, use them to the best of their potential, and then integrated, and then basic एक और बड़ी important चीज है, वो है आपका command and control center. Like, I give you an example. We shot down, let's say, 7-8 aircraft, and believe me, now during May we had the opportunity to shoot more number of aircraft. This I'm saying with lot of conviction. We could have shot down maybe up to 20.
Okay.
But we stopped short of 7, 8 because our leadership believed that this is the brink from where the escalation ladder goes out of control. And whatever we have achieved, it gives us that notion of victory, which is sufficient for us. Similarly, in 2019, we had the opportunity to shoot maybe up to 5, 6 aircraft. But we stopped short of 2. At 2, we didn't go more than 2 because we, despite having capability and resolve to use capability, like I said earlier, we are not warmongers. We want to give them a message. We want to live peacefully, and let us also live peacefully. If Europe, after fighting 100 years of war, can become a European Union while setting off their differences, and it is up to the Indian leadership. They have to play a role which commensurate to their size. Actually, the role they are playing is very of a small mind. Their size is bigger. They have grown bigger in size, but mentally probably they have not grown that much.
Ajay, Zahid sir, let's talk about the recent air show that happened in UAE. This is considered to be one of the biggest air shows in the world. जहाँ पे अगर हम बिजनेस के हवाले से बात करें, सो एविएशन इंडस्ट्रीज फ्रॉम डिफरेंट वर्ल्ड गैदर ओवर देयर टू सेल देयर प्रोडक्ट्स एज वेल, एंड अपनी जो उनके मॉडर्न इक्विपमेंट है उसका डिस्प्ले करती है. यहाँ पे HAL हिंदुस्तान एरोनॉटिक्स लिमिटेड का जो एक प्रोडक्ट है तेजस, उसका डिस्प्ले हुआ, जिसकी वजह से विच इज़ अ वेरी सैड न्यूज़ एज वेल के पायलट भी उनका जो है वो इसमें उनका लॉस हुआ, एंड उसके अलावा एयरक्राफ्ट का भी लॉस हुआ. एक जो चीज़ हमने देखी, डिस्पाइट ऑफ सेवरल कंट्रीज शोइंग इंटरेस्ट, वो हम प्रोग्राम से पहले बात कर रहे थे कि नेगोशिएशंस आपने बताया था कि चल रही हैं, लेकिन आर्मेनिया इज़ वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट कंट्री जिसने कैटेगोरिकली मेंशन किया है दैट दे आर नॉट गोइंग फॉर बाइंग तेजस एयरक्राफ्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस इंसिडेंट. जब इस तरह के इंसिडेंट होते हैं, आपको क्या लगता है कि इससे जो इस तरह की एवियोनिक्स की इंडस्ट्री है वो कितनी इफेक्ट होती हैं, एंड इकोनॉमिकली कितना जो है मुश्किलात फेस करनी पड़ती हैं किसी भी कंट्री को?
Okay. Before addressing this question, I think we have to very briefly go into the history of Tejas. Tejas, basically, they conceived a light combat aircraft to replace their aging MiG-21s, which were the Russian platforms. And the idea was conceived in as late as 1969. But the actual materialization of that idea came in 1984. 84 was the year when the actual project under the name of light combat aircraft was launched by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Now, from 1984 till 2025, it's over 4 decades. 4 decades, an indigenous production till date, आज की डेट तक Indian Air Force does not have more than 2 squadrons of Tejas in their Air Force. And Indian Air Force at present is the only Air Force which is flying these airplanes. Like we had our own upgraded versions of JF-17. They also had Teja, then the initial LCA converted into Tejas Mark, then Mark 1A, then Mark 2. Mark 1A and Mark 2's production, they plan to start from 2031. This is as per the Ministry of Defense documents of Indian MOD. Now, after 4 decades, if you have 2 squadrons flying right now, and it's their claim that there are a number of countries who have shown interest in buying these aeroplanes. And in fact, none of the deals we have seen being materialized. Might be on the negotiation level, things are going on. And one of the closest allies of the Indians, that is the Armenians, they have even straight away shown their intention of not going ahead with the deal. This is why it is so. In fact, little more comparison with the JF-17. We started off with the concept of Super 7 in 1998, launched in late 90s, and now till 2005 we inducted first one. It was very less number of years. Now we have something like 150 to 170 aircraft flown by Pakistan Air Force. There are 4 countries who are the buyers and they are flying these aeroplanes. Another 2 countries are the potential buyers, which were the deal is likely to be materialized in the coming days. Let's not take names of unless it is being officially announced. 4 countries plus 1 Pakistan flying these aeroplanes. Now it's an open secret. Everyone knows the potential of this aircraft. Conversely, another project which was launched by the Indians, maybe about 15 years earlier than the JF-17, it's not yet been flown by any other country other than the Indian Air Force. So this is on one side. It means they are terribly onto the lagging side. And Indian Air Force Chief in January, I think same year, in one of the programs, he has shown his frustration, his utter disappointment on the delayed production and red tapeism. And I have written an article on this also, that how the Indian Air Force showed his anguish and frustration on the delayed production, because their shortcoming, actually in 2014, Indian Air Force calculated their strength at 42.5 squadrons to support their own missions and missions of the Indian Army and the land forces. At present, Indian Air Force has been reduced to, requirement is 42.5, it has been reduced to around 30-31 squadrons. And this number is going to reduce further, as per the media reports of the Indian media, to 26 and 27 squadrons by 2030. So they are in a serious shortcomings, and they plan that 6 squadrons will be there of Tejas, and rest of the 6 squadron they can buy off the shelf, out of which again 2 squadrons. So in this background, Indian Air Force Chief ki jo frustration or anguish, that is understandable, because actually he is the one who has to fight the war. तो इस बैकग्राउंड में whenever there is a, हमारा माशाल्लाह ये जो JF-17, I think this Dubai air show को मिला के there is none of the air shows, including the Paris air show, जहाँ दुनिया में कहीं पर, या जुहाई air show कहीं पर अगर ये हुआ हो, air show और पाकिस्तान एयर फोर्स ने अपना ये क्राफ्ट कुछ ना किया. We have been part of every air show in almost entire world. और उसमें हमने इसको शोकेस भी किया सक्सेसफुली, एंड दैट्स व्हाई टुडे लाइक आई सेड के नंबर ऑफ कंट्रीज आर फ्लाइंग दिस एरोप्लेन. एक्चुअली जब आप एयर शो में जाते हैं, यू एक्चुअली इट्स अ अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर यू एंड फॉर योर कंट्री टू शोकेस योर कैपेबिलिटीज टू द वर्ल्ड. इसमें यू पुट योर बेस्ट फुट फॉरवर्ड. आप बेस्ट ऑफ द बेस्ट पायलट्स लेके जाते हैं, बेस्ट एयरक्राफ्ट लेके जाते हैं, बेस्ट मेंटेनेंस फैसिलिटीज लेके जाते हैं, ताकि यू डोंट वांट टू शो देम योर अगली फेस. इस अनफॉर्चुनेट इवेंट, बीइंग एन एविएटर माई सेल्फ, आई रियली फील सॉरी फॉर लेट विंग कमांडर सयाल, बिकॉज ही डिडंट लूज हिज लाइफ इन अ कॉम्बैट. ही लॉस्ट हिज लाइफ इन अ while serving his country, and it's a very tragic event, and I really offer my condolences to the family of Wing Commander Syal. But having said that, you know, he was a wing commander. He was 40 years of age. When you perform combat,
and comparatively flying hours भी उसके जो perform करते हैं उसके ज़्यादा होते हैं compared to the other.
No, actually it's a trade-off between the experience, and because when you do the maneuvers and in front of the, you know that the entire world is watching you, so your adrenaline level tend to rise, and you want to show it to the world also. You need very mature people, professionally very sound, yet very mature, and best of the platforms. When you are at 40 years of age, no matter how good pilot you are, how good aviator you are, there is a physiological system which does not respond. Because during the maneuvers, when you pull negative or positive Gs, you tend to first gray out and then black out. You tend to lose conscious for a maybe fraction of time. But if you are not physically fit enough, the regaining of conscious and regaining of the flight, the relative chances are less. Second, probably he was too close to the, actually, the exact जो उसकी reasons हैं, उसकी अभी investigation is still in the process. और जब वो investigation सामने आएगी, तो then people will be able to find out what was the real cause. लेकिन apparently just by seeing the flight, of that aeroplane. तो वो लगता है कि it was a mix of misjudgment. It was a mix of the platform not responding, and it was a mix of poor judgment on the part of the pilot as far as the maneuvering is concerned. Because if you see the final moment of that aeroplane, it is straight.
Yeah.
So that means that he was able to bring the aircraft to an extent where he wanted to regain control by opening power, but margin was very less.
But margin was very less, and in fact, जो throttle था वो plane को नहीं मिल पाया था.
Because there is a delay. Like even in the best of even if it's a best of the planes in the world, whenever you are starting from any power setting, you put it to the afterburners. So there will be some time required for the fuel to burn and provide thrust to the aircraft so that now it can regain that momentum.
अच्छा सर, 2 दिन पहले ऐसी news भी आई थी, and we have seen in certain images as well.
I was coming to the same point. I don't know it was the same aircraft or it was some other aircraft, but very, very, I think, undesired visuals by the Indian Air Force and by India. That that aircraft, there was a huge fuel leakage from that particular aircraft. They had to place, I don't know what platform, maybe some shoppers or something like that. And there were a lot of hue and cry by the international media, and people made.
Do you think that was an alarming signal for them as well?
That was the alarming. There is a normal drainage, fuel drainage in all the airplanes, but that was not normal. It was a black fuel being seen by the entire world. Even that was the source of a huge embarrassment for the Indian Air Force. And over and above this unfortunate event. So I think by doing these two events, if they go in tandem side by side, then they were already not on a very comfortable position as far as the marketing is concerned, marketing of this platform is concerned. But I think on the domestic front, on the global front, on the military front, on the front of economy, Indian Air Force or the India has lost a huge.
अच्छा सर, लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ द सेम क्वेश्चन, डू यू थिंक HAL अगर प्राइवेटाइज होती तो ये शायद चीज़ें HAL को फेस ना करनी पड़े? राइट नाउ इट्स करंटली ओन्ड बाय द गवर्नमेंट, एंड जिसकी वजह से ये सारे इंसिडेंट्स हो रहे हैं या कोई भी इस तरह की चीज़ फेस करनी पड़ रही है.
आई थिंक would be one of the reasons, but I have a parallel example of Pakistan.
Okay.
Pakistan Aeronautical Complex is a public sector, and the manufacturer of the aircraft is also a public sector operation, Pakistan Air Force. अगर हम इस आर्गुमेंट को बाय कर लें तो फिर तो वी हैव प्रूव्ड इट रॉन्ग.
ओके.
कि पब्लिक सेक्टर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होना किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंडर परफॉर्म करने का या फेल होने की entire reason नहीं है.
And these were some of the claims made by the analysts as well. जो इंडियन साइड के एनालिस्ट हैं, they wanted कि अगर टाटा है या लैंड रोवर कंपनीज हैं या जो भी इस तरह के वहाँ के जो बड़े जाइंट्स हैं, if they are going to be part of this, so technically वो दुनिया भर से जो एवियोनिक्स के जिन्होंने मास्टरी की हुई है, they could have hired them, and वो जो आपने टाइमलाइन की बात की, ये भी शायद जल्दी मीट कर जाए.
देखिए बात पता क्या है, एवियोनिक्स is one of the most cutting edge technologies in the entire world. जिसमें जितनी लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं, उस ऑल टेक्नोलॉजीज दे आर मर्ज्ड इनटू वन. अभी आप देखें कि पूरी दुनिया में पूरा यूरोप जो है हमसे ज्यादा मॉडर्न है, एंड देयर आर डजन्स ऑफ कंट्रीज जो पाकिस्तान से ज्यादा मॉडर्न है, उनकी इकोनॉमी बड़ी स्ट्रांग है, बट दे हैव नॉट वेंचर्ड इनटू मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. व्हाई? और उन्होंने अगर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में जाते भी हैं तो पार्शली जाते हैं. They don't go for entire manufacturing. कोई असम्बलिंग में चला जाएगा, कोई पार्ट्स को. इवन अब ये जो यूरो फाइटर यूरोप में बन रहा है, या इवन जो अमेरिकन आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग दिस इनिशियली रैप्टर F-22 एंड नाउ F-35, देयर आर नंबर ऑफ अदर कंट्रीज जो कि इसके कुछ पार्ट्स, दोज कंट्रीज जो कि बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग इंडस्ट्रियल बेस रखते हैं, वो भी इसके पार्ट्स बना रहे. इट्स अ वेरी टीडियस जॉब, इट्स अ वेरी डिमांडिंग जॉब, इट्स अ वेरी कटिंग एज टेक्नोलॉजी इसके अंदर इन्वॉल्व है, पैसा तो इन्वॉल्व है ही, एक्सपर्टीज भी इन्वॉल्व है. तो आपको एक आई थिंक बियॉन्ड द नॉर्मल लेवल ऑफ कमिटमेंट चाहिए.
ओके.
और आपको ये जो टिपिकल गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के रेड टेपिज्म है, जो कि हर चीज को देखिए एक ब्यूरोक्रेट है, वो हर चीज को अपनी ब्यूरोक्रेटिक आई से देखे, वो एविएटर आई से नहीं देख सकता। या एक पॉलिटिशियन है, वो उसको पॉलिटिकल आई से देखे, पॉलिटिकल एंगल से देखे, वो उसको एक एरोनॉटिकल लाइट आई से नहीं देख सकती। सो इट कैन बी, इफ नॉट कंट्रोल्ड इन एन अप्रोप्रिएट मैनर, इफ नॉट ऑल दी, जिस तरह भी मैंने इंडियन एयरफोर्स चीफ की एग्जांपल आपको कोट की है, इफ दीज रिजर्वेशंस आर नॉट एड्रेस्ड टू द हिल्ड, देन this indigenization becomes a liability instead of being an asset. And in the Indian Air Force time, इनकी अगर हम केस में देखें, तेजास हो या इवन उनके अगर आर्मी का भी अर्जुन उन्होंने मेन बैटल टैंक बनाने की कोशिश की थी, उसकी फेट भी तकरीबन यही हुई कि उनकी जो इंडिजिनाइजेशन एफर्ट्स हैं सो फार, फ्यूचर में क्या होता है वी डोंट नो, बट सो फार they have not been able to bear those fruits which were originally conceived. और उसकी वजह से उनके पास ये जो इंडिजिनाइजेशन का, जैसा मैंने कहा कि उनको बाय 2015 they should have received around 6 squadrons of तेजस, अभी तक 6 क्या, उसका 1/3 भी, और वो जो मिले हैं वो भी बिलो पार है। तो अगर ये लेवल है उनके इंडिजिनाइजेशन का, और जिन्होंने यूज करना है उनके इनपुट जो हैं वो उस तरीके से नहीं लिए जा रहे, उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट नहीं किया जा रहा, दरमियान में रेड टेपिज्म है। और इस पे इंडियन एयरफोर्स चीफ ने बहुत डिटेल से अपने रिजर्वेशंस को एड्रेस किया है, उनको एक्सप्रेस किया है। तो अगर ये रिजर्वेशंस उसकी एड्रेस नहीं होती तो दिस इंडिजिनाइजेशन एक्चुअली इज अ एसेट फॉर एनी कंट्री। पाकिस्तान हैज यूटिलाइज्ड इंडिजिनाइजेशन एफर्ट एज एन एसेट टू आवर कंट्री, बट इफ इट इज नॉट एड्रेस्ड प्रॉपर्ली, it becomes a liability, like in the case of the Indian Air Force.
Sir, thank you so much for being part of this podcast, and definitely I wish कि ये podcast थोड़ी सी और लंबी चलती, लेकिन कुछ ऐसे हमारे पास points आए आपकी वजह से जो कि हमने उस perspective से शायद analyze नहीं किए। So thank you for your opinion and thank you for your comments on certain questions जो कि unclear थे हमारे लिए। And इसके साथ ही to all the viewers who are watching us, the questions that we have missed, you can definitely let us know on our social media platforms. We can definitely have them conveyed to Mr. Zahid Ul Hassan Saab, and we can get back to you on our social media platforms pe, and you can find some of the reels and short videos of this podcast on our platforms as well. Till then, take care.